A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Thank you for taking the time to tune in. Jam 316 Financial Clinic on a beautiful Wednesday morning. I'm so glad to have you on board today. Now, COVID-19 has affected a lot of things in life. And one area that was really hit is where businessmen are concerned, entrepreneurs. The shift was just too sudden. I know people who lost jobs. I know people who had to shut down their businesses. And so how do you thrive in this season? You know, this season seemed like it will take maybe 2 months and then we go back to normal. Well, we're still at it more than 5 months later. And how then do you survive during a season like this? How do you thrive as a business person in this season? I was sharing earlier on my radio show how I read the story yesterday of this lady who runs a boutique in the States. And when COVID-19 hit, I mean, her business just went downhill pretty fast. It was at the verge of closing. And she was wondering, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And then she got this brilliant idea. And she started doing live fashion shows on Facebook and YouTube, I think, just displaying the kind of clothes she has. And that just turned her business around completely. It's even better than when she had a boutique shop running it there, because now she has customers internationally, and that just took her business to a whole new level. And those are some of the stories I'm seeing in some areas, but then in some areas I'm seeing people who don't know what to do, and their businesses are just hitting rock bottom. So are you a business person? Are you an entrepreneur? How has this season affected your business? Have you had to make some changes? What are some of the changes you've had to make to stay afloat and to survive? How then do you thrive? That's what we're going to be looking at on Financial Clinic today. I have an amazing guest who will be able to point us in the right direction. This morning, we're talking about surviving to thrive, looking at businessmen, entrepreneurs. In studio with me today via Zoom, I have Director Human Capital Development at Wild International. This is Emmanuel Nandoha. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Just correction, not Wild International, Publishing Institute of Africa.
Oh, Publishing Institute of Africa. Okay.
Yes.
I was given the wrong information. Good to have you on board.
Thank you.
A lot of businesses are going through quite a number of issues in this season. And it's proving to be one of the toughest seasons probably most entrepreneurs are facing. What are some of the things you've been hearing? Because I know you deal a lot with, just trying to help people to streamline their businesses and things like that.
Yes, thank you, James. I think what has happened is that when the pandemic was announced, a lot of businesses were hit hard. The businesses that depended on supplies that had to be brought in maybe on a daily basis from out of Nairobi. Businesses that depended on working clients when we had the shutdown. Businesses that needed face-to-face interaction, events, businesses. Then because the economy is connected, schools closed, the circulation of cash totally dried up. And so people's turnover, daily turnover and income just dropped literally from, let me say, hundreds of thousands, even millions to almost next to nothing. And so a lot of businesses are really gasping for air right now as we speak.
Okay. So how do we survive a season like this for somebody who's in business? What are some key critical things they need to look at to be able to ensure that they stay afloat?
Okay. The first thing that I think every business person needs to do is just adopt the right mindset. Because if you don't have the right mindset, even as you go into any challenge, whether on a personal or corporate level, that is already a bad thing for you. So one, have the right mindset. And then two, the second thing you want to do is to really look around and assess what is happening so that you begin to see, are there any opportunities or what is changing? And then once you've assessed, then you can make decisions. You can begin to map out different scenarios or responses that you can take as a business person before finally now you identify and then act on whatever opportunities you've seen.
Okay. On the whole issue of assessing, I think that's a challenge to quite a number of people because we somehow tend to think in a one-track kind of mind. This is how I was doing my business. This has been working for such a long time. Now, this is not working anymore. And I'm finding that a good number of people are getting stuck because we many of us have not been taught how to think critically. and to look at the whole picture and to determine where the problem is and to find solutions. When we stick to, we find something that works, we run with it. When that one doesn't work anymore, or maybe we even copied somebody else and it's working, then it stops. We don't know what to do. How do we get to analyze and critically look at what's really happening and begin to find solutions?
Yes, and so this was a conversation I was having with my wife yesterday about how our education system, the teacher teaches you ABCD, and you're supposed to reproduce ABCD.
Very true.
You're never really given a chance to rethink how you process information and even respond to it. And so the first thing that we need to do is we are part of products of our, our schooling, our environment. And then the human nature is such that when I'm comfortable, when things are working for me, I relax. And so there's a part of the human brain, some of you call it the reptilian part of the human brain.
Yeah.
You just want to relax and feel like everything is good. And so you really need to work hard to break that state of comfort. Otherwise, it can become literally your deathbed.
Okay. Yeah. So for those people whose businesses, maybe they've had to, even close down, is there hope for them to revive their business and to get to a place where they pick up the pieces and go on? There are those who are barely surviving, but there are those who've had to shut down completely. How do you navigate from there?
First and foremost, the sad reality about not just the pandemic, but about life and reality is that not everything that we start will live forever. And so we need to have a sense of acceptance. And so if circumstances get to the point where you just can't continue with your business, shut down. If the creditors are debtors, everyone is all over you and it's not working, just accept the fact. But then shutting down does not mean that that's the end of you, that's the end of business. You can always rise up again, and you can rise up afresh. As a Christian, if you're a Christian, you just think about the way in which, even for us, death is not final. We have the hope of resurrection, and when we resurrect, we rise up with a new body. And that's the same thing that I'd say about businesses. What has died today can rise up tomorrow in a different form.
Because I was thinking about now the private schools. Seeing reports, a good number of private schools are actually thinking of shutting down completely. Maybe you are in a rented space, you can no longer meet the rent because schools are not in session, and it seems like the future is bleak. So do you think of a new way of doing the same thing, or do you begin to think of a totally new thing altogether, just to be able to put food on the table?
I think in the short term, you might want to ask yourself, what more can I do with the resources I have? The school buses, the land, the classes, maybe even the staff. And we've already had instances of people who have, you can convert a bus into a transport vehicle. You just need to remove the seats. You can convert classes into chicken coops. That is already happening.
Chicken coops?
Chicken coops. You can literally keep chicken, and I think there's already someone doing that. I mean, you just have to accept the fact that for the next 5 or so months, children won't be in school. And so if you have bills to pay, if you have needs that you have to meet, then you just have to really think and ask yourself, what can I do with the existing resources that I have?
What about if you have employees? Because that's also the other challenge, because you find that you have people, you can't sustain them, but you still feel they're paying because they have families to feed, and it becomes a hard situation to navigate. It can even get personal. Ukiachisha mtu kazi anaona ni kama unaniachisha kazi, what are you expecting I'm going to eat, but I can't pay you. So emotions also get into this space, and it becomes hard to deal with this whole issue. I don't know what your thoughts are on how to navigate through that kind of a situation.
I believe even if you have employees, you don't have to see them as a burden and just cut them off. Rope them in and tell them, hey guys, we are not getting the same income we used to get, and I would like to still see if we can work together, but are you willing to be flexible and adapt? And so even, for example, if you are teachers and you have classes, then you say, can we use this together? Can we work this together? And the reality of life is that the most flexible individuals or organizations are the ones who are going to survive this season, the ones who are able to adapt. And so, as much as I have my education, degree or diploma, I should not feel too. It should not be beneath me to become a chicken farmer.
Mm-hmm. You know, the fact that this is not something that's happening to a few individuals, it's something that's happening across the globe. Does it make the situation better in any way? You know, it's one thing if you're the only one going through an issue, you've had to shut down your business. It seems like everybody else is moving on with your life. But this one is something that has hit the whole globe. So does that factor play in any way where businesses are concerned?
The reality of a global recession is true. And so there's a way in which, because we are very interconnected from the global to the local, what's happening worldwide is going to have a ripple effect. And so the tourists don't come in, we don't get money from them. That money is the one that we use to pay fees. So there's a way in which everything is connected. So there's comfort in knowing that it's everyone. But then the sad reality is that for you and your family, when you have no food, you cannot eat global hunger. You eat your hunger.
You cannot eat global hunger.
No. Every man for himself. Ukifunga mlango, when you close your door, it's you and your family.
Okay.
So you have to do something.
I'm thinking in terms of maybe if you have loans you're processing, you're servicing, you know, maybe you have suppliers you need to pay, because this is something that's happening on a global scale. Would they be more understanding? Because they're also being hit by the same issue. So is this room to renegotiate some issues to ensure that at least your business can stay afloat, because everybody seems to be going through the same thing? So level of understanding may be a bit higher.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, there's some organizations, financial institutions that have been very accommodating, and they're actually having conversations and just seeing how they can restructure or spread out the requirements. But sad to say that some are not that pleasant. And I know one particular person who has been working through a microfinance, and they're not giving them any breathing space. In fact, they even send people to just come and camp at their home. And so it's important that maybe after this pandemic, we'll choose our financial partners more carefully.
I'm seeing a lot of people jumping online and you know, taking their businesses online, learning to do the same thing, but using different ideas and a different platform and a different way to engage the customer. Because I believe where business is concerned, you know, there has to be a customer. And so if the normal way for me to interact with them, which was for them to come to where I am, has been affected, then let me change and find something else. Do you see this being a season where online businesses will thrive, and will many people jump on board and stick to that even post-COVID?
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people are going to, and businesses are going to move online, and that is going to work for them. But we also need to understand that just because you've moved online does not guarantee success. It's like saying that just because everyone is opening a shop in the CBD, I will make money if I open a shop in the CBD. There are many other factors that need to come to play. And so what you really need to ask yourself is what value, what difference are you giving people online? Because there are these jokes about what you order online and what you receive.
Yes.
Sometimes it never quite comes together. Or you might go online, but both you, your team, and even your products and services are not quite suited for an online platform.
Okay. Do you have any questions for us this morning? 20316 is our SMS line. WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. Survive to thrive is what we're talking about. Looking at you as a business person. How can you survive this season, and how do you ensure you don't just survive but you also continue on to thrive? You can send us some of the challenges you're having or questions you may be having concerning your business. 20316 once again is the SMS line, and the WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. Surviving to thrive, talking to businessmen this morning. That's the discussion we have in studio. With us via Zoom, I have Emmanuel Nadoha, who's giving us some very interesting tips on how to ensure that we survive this season and we also move on to thrive in our businesses. So talking about this season, one of the keywords for this season is new normal. Everybody's talking about the new normal, the new normal. So as a businessman or even as an individual, how do I adapt to this new normal? And is this new normal going to be the normal going forward, or are we looking to going back to how things were, whether it's in business or even in our own personal lives?
Yeah, so the new normal might last for some time. The new normal might also change as we are seeing worldwide. So I think, again, you just really want to adapt to this new normal of either working or operating, whether it's remote working, whether it is going digital. But even as that happens, we just never know. I think the world is appreciating the fact that things can change. Maybe the Kenyans who say "Bindu vichenjanga" were onto something.
Yes. Very true. Let's talk about thriving, because it almost seems like a contradiction in a sense, because it seems like everything is going down, and yet we can still talk about thriving in a season like this. For many people, they're on survival mode. Yeah, I just want to survive. I just want to ensure that I'm able to put food on my table. I just want to ensure that my business doesn't go down. How do we switch from that and start thinking about how to thrive in a season like this?
Yes, thank you. And so I think, like I said in the beginning, it's just about mindset, because even in a time of little, the mindset can really make you enjoy the little that you have. And so, like you pointed out, some of us are now working from home. So let's enjoy the time we have with our families. Maybe our businesses, our work was keeping us away from our home. Maybe we used to eat 3 meals a day. But even with one meal, you actually discover you can actually survive. And so sometimes it's really just about the mindset. And I believe that's one thing that God really challenges us when he talks about contentment. So that even whether it's in the midst of a lot or little, the way you perceive it really makes a big difference for you.
Okay. Would you say there are also new opportunities that are being presented in this season, and how do we maximize on them?
Yes, there are definitely new opportunities, and they will never stop, whether we are in the corona or out of corona. And so another thing that we need to do is also to open our eyes and begin asking ourselves, what more can I do with what I have? So think about your personal skills. Think about the skills of your team. Think about the resources that you have, and ask yourself, what more can I do with this? And that's when you begin to realize that the human brain is very interesting. When you open your mind to look for certain things, you will begin seeing it. So, for example, if I wanted to buy a certain model of phone, all of a sudden I'll begin to see a lot of people with it.
Yeah.
If my wife is pregnant, then all of a sudden there are a lot of pregnant women walking the streets.
Yes.
So what happens is that the mind is able to tune into what you ask it to do, and I think that's one of the beauties of creation. So if you're looking for opportunities, you'll begin to see them all around you.
Do you have people you've worked with who've been able to see opportunities in this season that they've been able to jump onto and it's worked for them? Maybe you can give us an example or two.
Yeah, one of my neighbors has been telling me about, he was running a thriving restaurant business, one of the most popular ones. And of course, when people stopped moving up and down, had to shut down, let go his workers. Initially had a very large team, and initially reopened, and there was all these expensive tests they needed to do. They did them, then again shut down, then again, and they're just beginning to pick up. But in the midst of that up and down, he began to realize that, hey, I have some other skills that I've not truly tapped into. And so the restaurant is now back up and running. Fortunately, they have a bit of space, so they're able to allowing guests and maintain the appropriate social distance. But he also discovered I still have a passion in landscaping. And so he says he's now spending a bit more time doing that. So he's using some of his long-standing skills to really just thrive in this season.
Okay, I've seen some people jump on to the season has has created demand for certain things.
Yes.
I've seen people jump on to either supply or to manufacture some of these things just to ensure that that they stay afloat. Is that something viable? Because sometimes I feel like because I do this kind of business, biashara yangu ni ya mtumba, yeah, na kwa sababu Gikomba imeungua, I'm stuck. And so, is it also advisable for us to look at other opportunities which may not necessarily be our line of business that we can use just for the sake of surviving through this season?
Yes. One of the businesses was an events company, and they had trucks that would transport their their tents and chairs and all that to sites.
Yes.
Right now, they're doing long distance transportation, and so they're now going in and out of Kenya, all the way to Rwanda and the like. And they're saying it's looking very promising for them. And so you can actually change what you're doing from or use the resources you have for something else that can work. So one is supply. When you talk about manufacture, there was a company that was doing cosmetics. And I'm sure you agree that right now, because everyone is masked, the cosmetics are not as visible. So they realized that some of the chemicals that they were using to make the cosmetics can be used to make sanitizers. And so they've tweaked their production line just to do that.
Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. If you have any questions for us, 20316 is the SMS line. Our WhatsApp number is 0786 316 316. Maybe you are experiencing challenges in your business and you're wondering what's the way forward in this season and how do I survive and how do I thrive? How do I overcome these challenges? You can throw in your questions on 20316, WhatsApp on 0786 316 316. I'm just wondering, Emmanuel, because one of the things I've felt in this season, it's almost like God put a pause on how we do life. Is this a good season to also, look at your business from different angles and ask yourself critical questions about how do I make it better? How do I grow this thing? Because sometimes we get into autopilot and things are running. Because they're running, so we don't even step aside to look at things. Is this a good opportunity to be able to do that? And how does one do that?
Yes, thank you. It's true that when things are working, we tend to just get into autopilot. And especially when you're making money, you have a reliable stream of customers, you get comfortable. And so it's important that if you're forced to stop, whether it's by the pandemic, by God, by sickness, you just really stop to ask yourself what is right or wrong. And one of the things that I've seen works very well is if you can have a space where you can just stop and begin to assess everything, whether it's on a personal level, on a corporate level, and just look through, because sometimes when there's plenty, we become careless. We become very... we spend a lot, we become inefficient, we get away with treating our customers badly, and just because there'll always be another one. And so this is a good time to really stop and begin to assess and then see how can we refine what we are doing, because sometimes the way forward will be a leaner, more efficient, more organized business.
Yes, because I've talked to different people who are telling me this season has actually made me realize I have more employees than I need. This season has taught me and opened my eyes to realize that I am wasteful. I am using so many resources that I could use elsewhere. And so people are stepping back. Some are even asking themselves, do I need such a big office? Because people are working from home, it seems to be working, so I don't know if you're also experiencing such kind of comments from different people you're interacting with.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely true. I think when there's when the market is good, then you find there's a growth curve and everyone is excited about ABCD, and we adopt the herd mentality because other businesses are doing this or people in my league are doing this, then we jump onto it. I'm sure you remember a few months ago, not actually, the last few years, there's been a glut of office space in Nairobi.
Yes.
And anyone who had a piece of land would dash to put up office space, assuming that it was a guaranteed income earner. But as time has gone by, people are realizing that the office or the real estate in Kenya, in Kenya in particular, is overpriced. I remember when we were searching for some office space once upon a time, the prices were just astronomical.
Yeah.
You get space, then you're told you pay for every parking. And so what happens is we ended up in that particular instance getting an office in an apartment block, because one, you get a lot of space for a very reasonable price, but you also get a lot of parking.
Yeah.
And so, yes, people are going to rethink a lot of things. And I mean, it's interesting how remote working has always been there, but no one has really thought about it, because we were still stuck in the mindset that people can't work unless they are within my eye.
Yeah.
Is it eye shot? But people are realizing people can be even more productive working from home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question here. It's a bit vague, but maybe you can give some input. Someone says, I sell vegetables. What can I do to be creative? So I don't know whether they are selling vegetables in a kibanda, in the estate, or whether they had a proper shop that they had set up. They haven't indicated. But what top of your mind, what are some of the things you can think to tell this person?
Yeah, if you're selling vegetables, that's a good thing, because people will always need to eat.
Yes.
And so that's number one starting point. If you had a fixed location where you were always waiting for, is it traffic to pass by, you might begin wanting to ask yourself, how about if I began seeing if I could deliver vegetables to people? A lot of people, me and my family included, do not like cutting vegetables.
Yeah.
And in some places, you have people who cut and pack. So you can cut and pack. I've seen people who cut and then they do a bit of a mix. So you don't just buy cabbage, you buy a bit of cabbage and other vegetables. I just know some of them are green, some of them are yellow, but you do a kind of a salad.
Yeah.
And you begin, you can actually increase your selling rate by just not remaining stuck to one position, but asking, can I take my things or my wares, my vegetables to other places?
That's good. I've also seen people do that in our neighborhood, where they now deliver. I've seen people who've actually moved their house. In fact, it's just yesterday I saw somebody had put a post on social media, and they were saying vegetables are here, and they had pictures there of their ndomas and their nyanyas and their prices, and if you're within CBD, or if you're within this estate, delivery at this amount. And from the comments, I saw people are ordering. So different ways of doing the same thing. Shortly, we'll talk about positioning, because this season will not last forever. The season will change again. So how do we position ourselves for the next season that is coming? Inviting you to ask your questions on 20316, WhatsApp 0786 316 316. It is the Financial Clinic. We are talking about your business, how to survive this season, and how to ensure you also thrive, not just survive. Let's talk about positioning. How do we position ourselves for the season that is coming? I saw a couple of people were able to think very fast just before the corona pandemic hit this nation, and they began to position themselves because they were seeing what was happening in other countries. So now that this season will not last forever, as a business person, how do I need to start thinking to position myself for what is coming?
Thank you. And so one of the things that you really want to do is to consolidate whatever you have, whether it's customers, whether it's your product line, whether it's what you offer customers. You really want to make sure that you have it well figured out, so that if, let's say, it opens up 100%, where there are no restrictions on everything, you want to be ready to really ramp up to recover whatever losses you've made. And so based on your assessment and improvements now, you should be ready for a heightened, activity when things open up totally. Another thing that you really want to do as part of your positioning is to ask yourself, I've been doing this, but do I still stick to it, or do I take it to another level? And it's interesting to find that some of the companies like Samsung, the once upon a time, they actually started off selling vegetables. And so
wow.
Samsung now is a world leader in electronics. And so you realize that, and that was way back in the 1940s. So you realize that seasons come and go. And so since seasons are coming and going, you really want to be scanning the horizon. You don't want to be looking at just today.
Yeah.
And you begin asking yourself, when I look into the horizon, what are the different trends that are coming up? And how can I prepare myself for these new trends? And either continue doing what I'm doing, but differently, or change what I'm doing totally so that I can ride a wave. Because at the end of the day, if you're in business, sometimes you really just want to ensure that what you're doing is financially sustainable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about customers, and I just remembered something. There's this story that went viral of this landlord who told the tenants they will not pay rent, I don't know, for 3 or 4 months or something, and every other month he's checking in on them, and I was thinking, if I was a tenant there, I don't think I'd ever move out if that was my landlord. So is this also an opportune time for business people to continue engaging their customers and their clients? What will that do for your business?
Yeah, the truth is that when a customer or a client is having a problem and you show them empathy, that customer will feel obligated to remain with you long term, as compared to if you don't show them empathy.
Yeah.
We've experienced this on a personal level and even on a corporate level, where when someone does you a good turn, and it's just like the Bible says, do unto others as you would want them to do to you, you will feel like you have to do it back to them. And so businesses that are very understanding to their customers, maybe someone used to pay cash and now he's asking for a bit of credit, extend that to him. Maybe someone used to pay rent on a certain debt, extend that to him. True story, me and my family, we once stayed in a place where when we were having, because we're also in the world of business, and we're having a few financial hitches and we're not able to pay rent on time.
Yeah.
The interactions I had with my landlord were not very nice. And I remember after 1 or 2 interactions, I just said, you know what, we're moving. The place we currently stay, even as we were moving under duress at that particular time, we literally moved in without paying a deposit.
Wow.
And at that time, we were very sheepish. We were saying, we don't have the money, but if you will accommodate us, or even just allow us to put in our things until we get the money. But because the landlord was willing to just allow us to put our foot in. And very interestingly, as we were putting in our stuff, that's when some of the money that I needed to pay came in. But let me tell you, between then and now, my relationship between myself and my landlady is not the normal landlord-tenant type of relationship.
Yeah.
It's gone to another level. And that's really what you want to do with your customers. Because once you do that, they'll become what we call your advocates. They'll talk about you. They will support you. They will endorse your products. And even when you make some mistakes, they'll have a lot more, we call it grace or understanding. But if you're hard on them, they will, as they say, walk with your feet. As soon as they get,
for those people who've lost jobs, one of the things people are thinking about is maybe I should go into business. You've been employed so many years because of this pandemic, you've lost your job, maybe you had some savings here and there, and you're thinking, I just can't sit around, and finding somebody to hire me right now is a bit more difficult. Wacha nianze biashara. Is that advisable? And what are some main things somebody who's been an employee but now they're thinking of going into business, what are some main things they need to consider?
I think the first thing that you want to do is to just look at your financial runway, how much cash you have. Because if you have a lot of cash, then you have you might say a long runway. If you have very little cash, you can get a severance pay. Then you want to then maybe even cut down your expenses, maybe even move to a cheaper place. Just manage your resources so that you can stretch them a lot. As you think about business, you also need to be very careful in the sense that you can start a business, but because you don't have the experience, it can go bust very quickly. And so if you put all your money into it at a go, problem. So one of the things we say is that even if you're thinking about business, start small. Rather than put in 100,000, maybe even put in 5,000, 10,000. See how it works. Learn small so that if as you keep on learning, keep on changing, whether it's your product, whether it's how you do your thing, so that as you grow, you're growing, your business is growing with you. We've seen a lot of people who sink all their retirement earnings into one business, and when it goes bust, whether it's a matatu or whatever, they're totally lost. And so if you're going to transition, really start small and then transition. Another thing that I'd say is when you are working, what were the skill sets or the experiences that you had, and can you convert that into maybe a service or something that people can do? Because sometimes I used to be, for example, an accountant, and then tomorrow I want to wake up and be a hairdresser. I'm going to be starting from zero. Why not then ask myself, if I was an accountant in a firm, how about if I offered the same accounting services that I have some relative experience and understanding in to people? But maybe you can even start off small, like when we're doing our returns. I think there are a lot of people who needed support in putting together their returns. So you use what you have to build up rather than go start from zero.
The problem is some of us are not able to look at what we do as a service we offer to others because we are so inclined to being employed. And so you have skills, but because you have no one to employ you, you don't know how to convert that into a service that can bring in cash.
I mean, we're told so many vijana. Mwisho wa kusoma, utapata kazi mzuri sana.
Yes.
And so we've been programmed to just believe that my skill set must be hired out to someone else. But you need to begin thinking and asking, can this skill set be sold almost like retail to random people? And so if I was in HR, can I help maybe small businesses or business people do HR stuff? I used to be a customer, maybe I used to be a receptionist. And so I was very good at welcoming people and just helping them do stuff. So can I maybe take the same skills and offer them somewhere where someone will pay me maybe a lot less, but at least it's money coming in?
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. Well, we are almost out of time, but you promised to tell me a story.
Yes. A very small analogy about a hedgehog and a fox. Now, some people say that when you think about the hedgehog is that animal that lives in one house all its life. It knows one thing and it's very good at it. It has one source of food and it just focuses on that all of its life. Now, the fox is slightly different. It's considered to be one of the most adaptable creatures in the sense that it can eat both vegetables and rodents. It has been known to survive in the most varied scenarios. And so when you think about yourself, whether as an individual or a business, you need to ask yourself, are you going to be a fox or a hedgehog? And so someone says that the people who will end up thriving are not the hedgehogs who only know one thing and they have focused on it. Sometimes even when it's already dead or gone, they're still hanging on to it. But the people who are going to, like the fox, say that now there's no meat, wacha nikule nyazi. There's no meat, let me eat grass. Those are the people who are going to thrive. And so the same will happen with businesses. The businesses that are able to tweak their business models to suit whether it's a new normal or the new world we're coming into are the ones that are going to survive and thrive.
Okay. As you told that story, a book came to mind. I'm sure you most probably have read it. Who Moved My Cheese?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's almost a similar kind of thing where we are so used to getting our resources from one place, and when that place is closed up, instead of looking for alternatives, we just camp there and wait for the good old days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is good, but it never lasts, unfortunately. And I think there's a need for us, whether it's on an individual or a corporate level, to always be looking beyond today and tomorrow and asking ourselves what is happening. What are the signs of the times? How do I need to adapt? If I've been eating meat, can I begin eating fruits? If I've been eating fruits, can I eat vegetables? If I've been used to using this space for school, for schooling, what more can I do with it? And that is what will make a difference in this season.
Yeah, you know, I read a story of I saw a story of a gentleman who turned his school into a farm.
Yeah.
You know, the whole field, he cultivated it. Now he's growing vegetables, and at least he's making something. Well, Emmanuel, I'm out of time. What's your parting shot, even as we wrap up this conversation?
Yeah, I think my key thing is, one, just look at your mindset. I think that is really important, because that mindset and even just your perspective is what is really going to make a difference. And then also understand that even God himself has been very flexible in how he's achieving his eternal aim.
Yeah.
And despite man's free will to choose right or wrong, he's always found a way of correcting. And so always find ways of returning your life, your business back on course towards the ultimate goal. That's my parting.
Wow, Emmanuel, thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us today. Thank you for your wisdom. We truly appreciate you.
Asante sana. Thank you.
Awesome. I hope you've been able to gain something from that conversation that will encourage you to keep pursuing, keep pushing that business, because this season will pass, but also this season has opportunities that are hidden therein. It's time to adjust, it's time to survive, and it's time to grow and thrive even from that position. Well, I'm out of time for today. Thank you for being a part of the Financial Clinic on Jam 316 on Family TV and Family Radio.
For this and more of our shows, log on to www.familymediaonline.com to enjoy a wide variety of programs, from current affairs to testimonials and features, pastoral and inspirational shows, kids entertainment, and so much more. Also stream live on www.familymedia.tv.